Hello everyone and welcome back to PAX and Recreation. And just the truck, you know what time it is broom broom time, racing time, start your engines, because we're going to talk about the commander decks for Aetherdrift. Now, happily enough, there is only 2 commander decks this time, which I cannot believe that this feels so good. Normally, in a competitive, well, not even competitive, like any product ever that I like, you know, like, I don't know, I wouldn't be like, oh, well, thank God there are less Nintendo games this year, right? It's like, no, and that will apply to everything really. Like, it's weird for us to celebrate that we have less of something, which is actually pretty funny if you think about it. But I think I'm not alone when I'm saying, thank God there is only 2 commander decks this time. And apparently there is going to be even less because the Spider-Man set doesn't have commander decks, which is weird. Assassin's Creed didn't have commander decks either, but weird because it sounded like that would be like the perfect opportunity to do some decks right there. Like, you know, I don't know, a Spider-Man deck or a Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen deck, a symbiote deck with Venom and Carnage and all that, and a Sinister Six deck, for example, and there you have your 4. Or if you want to have like a Spider-Verse deck or whatever, like if you even push me, I will have like a Spider-Verse one with all different versions of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 being the commander, but I digress. So weirdly enough, the year where we have more stuff and stuff is getting pricier, we get less stuff in some things. Then for others, like Tarkir is going to have 5 decks, so, but that's more or less justified. So I'm not like, it's within the lore, I guess. So also 5 pre-releases, so I guess it's okay. But Final Fantasy has 4, and I'm guessing Avatar is going to have 4, 1 for each element or protagonist. Or, well, actually, I'm very curious about how they are going to divide the Avatar concepts. Like, I don't think they're going to be so numb as to go like, well, blue is water, red is fire, green is earth, and white is wind, so black is soul or something. I don't know. Like, ideally, if we go by the colors and elements of Avatar, yes. If we go by the meaning of each color in the color wheel of Magic, then it should be, every character should be at least 2 colors, right? But this is just me speculating. Long story short, Aetherdrift only had 2 commander decks, right? And I feel like, yes, you can be like, oh, actual video starts at, I don't know, 3 minutes in or whatever. But I think this is an important context, because when I saw there's only 2 commander decks, for a while I was like, whoa, this is, wow, so refreshing, so cool. Because let's be honest, actually, when I was commenting this with my friends, I was like, man, 2 commander decks since forever. And they were like, well, actually, Wilds of Eldraine had 2. And I was like, that's true. But normally it feels like they just do 4 by default, which is okay, like for a pod. And I am one of the main culprits of that thing working, because I normally buy the 4. You know, and LGS has now actually sell you the entire box. It's very weird for an LGS to sell you just one of these, because they normally, when there are 4, at least one of them for sure it stinks, right? And maybe there is another one that is like stinks less, and then there is one that everyone wants, and so they sell the one that everyone wants, and then they have to, well, lose money in all the others. So now a lot of LGSs just sell you the entire box of decks, and it's like, yo, if you want the decks, just, you know, if you want a single one, just go to Amazon or something. So it's understandable. It's the state of the market. It is what it is. So when you come back to this, I was like, man, Aetherdrift has only 2? Weird, because, you know, these decks are weird in every aspect of the world. And you will see in a second why. Because, well, first we got 2 when I was expecting 4 by default, but if you really made me guess to a gun to my head, I will say, like, I will be like, well, Aetherdrift is going to have a different number of decks. I will be like, 3? Like 1 for each plane where the race takes place, I guess? And it's like, no, sadly, no. It's just 2 where the main planes that you already know in the race take place. So we got 2, right? Like 3 colors, which apparently is like the theme for everything. By the way, when I was listing decks, I forgot Edge of Eternities, which also is going to have 2 only, apparently. So that's great, because let's be honest, a lot of times they do 4 decks and sometimes even 5, and half of them, no one cares. Or maybe only have 1 good card, 1 new design, right? And I prefer that they just do cooler designs. Yes, sometimes I normally buy all the decks from a set, and if there are 4, I do like this thing with my pod where like we just play with the new decks and see how they interact with each other, because sometimes it feels like that's the way it's meant to be played. It's meant to be played NVIDIA, right? Like something like, for example, Duskmourn, that really felt like that was the case. Like Duskmourn really felt like those 4 decks were meant to be played together, like 3 against 1, almost like an Arc Enemy thing. But enough digressing. So 2 decks. Why this thing is so interesting? Well, 3 colors, which apparently is the thing for this year. And you had Eternal Might and Living Energy, right? So when I saw Living Energy and I saw Saheeli here, immediately it was like, okay, this is an energy deck. Like, you know, when they do the spoilers and you just see this, or you just see this, or you see this, but like very, very blurry in an angle because someone took a picture or something. I was like, okay, that's an energy deck. And then you read the thing, it's like Stockpile Energy, Charge of Artifacts and Creatures, and Eternal Might is burn through cards, grow your mummy army. So people were like, ooh, zombies, I guess, and they were not wrong. It's basically zombies. Now, they changed the packaging again, which is interesting. Like, the Racing Stripe, I kind of like, not gonna lie. But they changed the packaging again. Now, this is the smallest packaging, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I think this is the smallest packaging ever for a Commander deck. And we've come a long way. Like, this seems like the recent packaging for Commander decks, but it is not. And sadly, you know, I don't have one at hand right now of the most recent ones, but this is smaller, trust me. This is what I think always as the default Commander packaging, you know, the very fat one that had like the token card. And this was like the default thing for the longest time, in my opinion. This, to me, when I think like Commander deck boxes, this is the thing. Now, I gotta be honest. Yes, this is very wasteful in terms of space. It looks great in the shelf and all that, but yes, it's very, very wasteful. Compared to this, which, you know, is better for shipping and for Amazon and for the environment, but mostly for Amazon. And then, you know, the OG ones with a gigantic card. Now compare this, like, for the space that one of these takes, well, not that much, but like, yeah, you can pretty much fit 2. And, you know, and again, let's be real. Most of the space was taken by these, and because this is like a showcase thing and no one cares, right? Like, no one cares anymore about the big cards, even though I miss them. Everything reminds me of him. So, like, you know, this thing here has nothing, a bunch of plastic. So for the sake of the environment, and that I agree, less plastic is good. I feel like this was the middle term, you know, the ones with the angle. And then when we had Lord of the Rings and so on, they had like, and Final Fantasy is going to be the same. They have the ones that are completely rectangular with the drawing of like the character and so on, like, you know, no more plastic again, which is good. The less plastic, the better, because this is not very recyclable, I will tell you. So, you know, and I'm not like a green elf hippie or anything, but, you know, if we don't do anything with those plastics, right? So whatever. And one thing that Wizards is realizing is that people don't care. Like, this is the art that's going to catch your eye. Seeing the card doesn't help. That's why they moved from putting the actual card in the packaging, not only for Commander, but for other products like starter kits and something, to a cardboard card. And I feel like they stopped doing this because people will cut this to have a proxy, and Wizards was like, free cards? No, sir. So they stopped doing that too. But the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And they even, I think on Amazon, they have these eco-friendly packaging that they stopped doing, by the way, which is just like a brown box, like a very small brown box. That's basically the deck and the box, and that's it. But it wasn't that much cheaper for you, so it was just like an ugly box. And the reason is logical, which is, well, you're just gonna open it and just use the cards, right? So no one cares about all these, to be honest. And that's true. No one cares about all these. And even if you are a scalper or whatever, and you want to keep the boxes sealed forever, the smaller they are, the better for you, because they take less space. So everyone wins, I think. But, you know, it's interesting to document these differences. Now, we do get less things, as that seems to be the trend here. And we're going to look at the 2 of them normally and talk about gameplay and so on. Now they do put the card bigger in the back, which was a problem that we had In the past, with a lot of this, they just had the cards or the card very small. I was like, what's the point if I can't read the card? Because reading the card explains the card. And now basically they put you just the commander there, so you know what it does, which is cool, right? So I will normally go alphabetical, but okay, let's maintain consistency in the channel. Let's go alphabetical. Let's start with Eternal Might. And as I open it, I will go longer with this one because this is one where I look at the box itself, and then they keep this, which I love. More mommy, more problems. This is great. Whoever is responsible for this, I always send love to that person because I love this. Now, still a lot of wasted space, right? So I still believe Wizards can do better. Again, I like big boxes and I cannot lie, but I think that what's forcing them, what's up with this? Who are you? Oh, the pamphlet. Now they put the pamphlet like this. Oh, well, okay, this is kind of cool. So the pamphlet's kind of cool. Well, now they have the box in. That's not bad. The story for Temnet Nactamon's Wheel, and magic colors, which, if they keep hammering them, I guess they're going to respect them for Avatar, but I can only wish. And the commander rules, like this is how you play commander, which, I guess if you're buying a PreCon, you're starting, so I guess that's part of the point. So, okay, not bad. The deck box that I believe no one uses. Maybe at the beginning you use it to store some cards, so I'm not going to complain too hard about this, but at least we still have this. And the boxes are cool looking for what they are, right? Because the key art is very good. Magic has a track record of having some of the best artists in the world, so, that's half the battle. And then you have this frame here with the demo booster jumping there, the deck itself, and this. I feel like every gen, every set that moves, I have less and less stuff to show you about the commander decks. Well, they have the tokens here. No phrase about confetti. Find local commander events. That's good. And that's it. So I think you can do something interesting with these doors. I feel like it's a lost opportunity that the cowboy said wasn't the one that introduced this, but whatever. But wait, who designs this at Wizards? I would really like to see like a 3-hour talk from that person. Like, oh, I'm the guy that designs the boxes, and this is the logic that I use for it. And the key art here, pretty cool. Again, most people will just throw these away, so just take the +1/+1s. This is okay, but they removed the cardboard card. Now they remove the life counter. We don't have the life counter anymore, which, again, okay, let's be honest, no one used the life counter, or most people didn't use the life counter, but come on. And recently on Reddit, I saw this thing that I was really like, oh, now you guys had that idea? Like, apparently, a lot of people had the same idea at the same time, or it became a trend or something. Just grab the life counter and use it as a pinpoint to mark a token card, and then cut the token card so that you have like, you do a token card with the spinning wheel, so that you can, when you increase your counter, your token counter, it's just spinning the wheel like the life counter. That's pretty good. That's pretty genius. But guess what? Now those things are rare stock because they are no longer included with the decks. So pam. So let's see what's in the Collector Booster sample pack. As a reminder, these are literally, the first one is free, kind of logic, so to get you hooked. So don't get too crazy about this. What I pull here is not what we're gonna pull. It's completely random and is never too crazy. So let's see. Winter, Course Rider. So a possible commander, not bad. There is more where that came from. So just buy the collector boosters. And she's not even foil. No, it's a full art, not bad. And a Ripclaw Wrangler. They love doing difficult words. Not bad. Not even foil, but full art. Not bad. Kind of cool. This one will fit 300% perfectly in Duskmourn. No problem. But whatever. So that's cool, I guess. Now let's see the deck. Let's talk about the deck. Okay, I'm not going to go card by card. I already played with this deck. The reason why normally these videos come out later than the other products is because I try to play with them. This time it was kind of faster. because it's only 2 decks. At the same time, it was a lot more difficult to evaluate interactions in case you buy them as a board game, like I do, kind of. You buy the 4, you have a thing there. Because, well, there's only 2, so that makes it kind of difficult. But here's our commander, and the second commander, or co-commander, the guide card. Man, these cards smell awfully bad. Damn, they smell like I don't know, like bad passion fruit. It's weird. And the tokens and the cards themselves, right? So let's go through the tokens. I always love to do this. I mean, I already saw the deck, but I already play with them. But, my theory is that always, if you see the tokens that a PreCon includes, because they still do, one of these days they are going to stop including tokens. Just hear my words. You can see what type of deck this is. And I think you can already tell what type of deck this is, right? Like, it's a zombie deck, and it's a zombie deck in Amonkhet. Zombie army, zombie. So 5 white zombies, 4 black zombies, a zombie army, and more zombies. So more black zombies with Decade, 1 zombie warrior with Vigilance, 2 actually, 2 shapeshifters, a vizier of many faces, a timeless dragon, which is kind of a weird thing, and champion of wits. And well, there's actually the angel of sanctions too. These are the cool ones because they are the ones you're like, hey, what card is doing that, right? So if you know your cards out from memory, you already know what's here. If you don't, you're in for a ride. So let's look at the commander, and you will understand quickly why this one is the favorite of both of the 2 decks. So Temnet, by the way, now we don't have the plastic card, and the way that they are doing to compensate for it is we don't have the oversized card or plastic card. Is, well, now at least you have the commander and the optional commander as foil full arts, which is actually pretty cool because these are the cards that you actually want to use. No one uses the oversized one, so I guess this is good. I'm just afraid. Now, we're in a toxic relationship with Wizards because I'm thinking about this and I'm just like, man, now I'm afraid that they may just remove it. So I just need to speak well of this, otherwise they will remove it and punish me. But, so Temnet Nactamun's Will for 2, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black is a 4/4 legendary creature zombie wizard with vigilance, menace, and whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard the card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. So I've seen a lot of people talking about this card. It has 3 great colors to play with zombies. Basically, blue and black is already a zombie deck by definition, but if you have white in there, your ass is covered. So basically, this card is somewhat expensive now, not too much because you can just get it in the PreCon. So, but why? Because for a lot of people are saying that this card is the de facto go-to zombie commander. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's like, it's the Ur-Dragon for dragons or Edgar Markov for vampires, but it's somewhere there. Yes, it's close just because there's a lot here, right? So this dude having Vigilance and Menace is already very aggressive in itself, and it's kind of for free because, it will be a good card with the rest either way. But, it wants you to attack. That's why it's always Vigilant, and it has Menace. So, at the beginning, there's at least a couple of attacks that are going to go free, or more or less, depending on the board. And you attack, draw a card, discard a card. Now, that's very good because that's a graveyard filling engine, right? I am one of those players. I don't like playing too much with the graveyard. That's why I don't have a lot of zombie decks. I did my effort playing with this one and trying to, be as unbiased as possible just because I don't like playing with graveyards, but I can see the value here, right? Like, basically, whenever you attack, it doesn't say this card attacks, it's just any card that you have attacks. So, if you have flying things, it goes, even if you attack and it gets blocked, it triggers still. You draw a card, discard the card, and whenever you draw a card, every zombie gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. So, the engine goes on. So it's a very cool, dangerous engine. And this is the main reason why this deck is the most expensive of the 2 in the store. I don't know the exact price is going for right now and why these people are after this card and all that. Because the deck, as you will see in a second, is not as good as the commander it has. Which is interesting because normally it's like, the commander is lackluster, but and it's like, no, this commander is pretty good. It's not like, I'm going to name my son Temet, but this commander is pretty good, but the deck is not up to the task, and you will see in a second. And then you have Hashaton as a secondary commander, as a secondary option. Scarab's Fist for 1 white, 1 black, and a lot of people are building around this right now. It's a 1/3 that says whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 and 1 blue. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it is a 4/4 black zombie. So this is already a very good idea, very crazy idea. So both commanders are pretty cool. Obviously, this is one of those decks where it feels like they are made to kind of work together in this order. Like this is your main commander, and when you pull this one, this just makes this so much more powerful, because you discard things. If you discard creatures, you pay some mana, and you get more zombies, which will get stronger. And there's a whole engine between these two. It's kind of cool. And the design of this card is freaking badass. But the visual design, so the art from Wisnu Tan, not that the art from Temet from Douglas Schuller, I think I pronounced it correctly, is bad, but I don't know. There is something about this that screams Warhammer 40k that is just very cool. So, two very solid commanders. They kind of play with the same, right? Which is discard. They discard, but one benefits from discarding, and the other makes you discard, but what it really wants is to make you draw, right? So they are, it's like, it's one of those, right? It's like, it's the same, but not really. Like they are talking the same language, but different accents, kind of. Completely different outcomes to do the same, but both work in a zombie deck. Now, if this is your main commander, and fun fact, like for some new people in the game, you will look at this and go like, well, if I go with this commander, I can't use the deck, right? Because I don't have blue cards. Well, apparently, the rules of commander say that any symbol of mana that is in your card enables you to use that color. So since blue is here, you can use blue too. So this card doesn't destroy the deck if you use it as the only card. You can use both. Just to make that clear. So that's kind of the two value engines of the deck. And now let's see the deck. Now, one thing that I want to mention with this deck and with the other is that, funny enough, this is Aetherdrift, right? And you're seeing the theme of this deck, because there may be some doubt with this deck. It's like, oh, well, this is a zombie deck, because this is obviously the energy deck. So if this is the energy deck and this is the zombie deck, what mechanics are these guys using? And it's like, well, to be fair, they are using none of the mechanics from Aetherdrift. Like, they are just doing like a Amonkhet deck and Kaladesh deck, and that's it. And you're welcome. So I don't dislike the idea, but it's very interesting that, because normally they do decks, and at least, they do 4, right? And at least one of them uses one of the new mechanics from the set, or like 2 or 3 use different mechanics or try to do something, or, something like that. But this one is like, nah, we're not using the start your engines thing or anything. This has nothing to do with races at all. So this is just Amonkhet, and this is just Kaladesh, and that's it. And I like it, I guess, but it just feels very like, everyone tried to tag something in. It's like, well, it's a race, so it's about cars, but not really, because the set is not that much about cars and doesn't have that many references to cars or anything. And it's 3 planes, but 2 of them have more space than the others. And then the decks are just about those 2 decks, which is like a way of trying to make everyone happy while making something very superficial. I don't know, it's weird. Current Wizards is weird. So, as you can see, the current play here with this deck, I'm not going to go card by card, don't worry. The current play with this deck is basically zombies, make your zombies big, and just hit people, right? So, and you have two ways of doing that. One is by discarding creatures, and the other is by drawing cards, which will also enable you to discard creatures, which is very good. So some of the new cards are here, right? On Wings of Wold. What am I, from New Jersey? On Wings of Gold, it's like 3/1 white creatures you control that are zombies and/or tokens get +1/+1 and have 5, which is a very weird wording, but then it's pretty cool, because again, if you're using this as your commander, it kind of is telling you everything. It's a black zombie, but it's a token, so it's both. It actually qualifies as both conditions for this. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 white zombie creature token. So this is also good because any zombie card that has decayed and once it gets destroyed, it gets exiled or something like that. Well, you still get money, right? You still get value from it. Priest of the Crossings is a interesting bird, I guess. It's for 3 and 1 white. It's flying at the beginning of each end step. Put X+1/+1 counters on each freak and creature you control, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. So again, playing with the graveyard is the name of the game, but you kind of are seeing the thing here. It's like, well, you get zombies, there are tokens, they have flying. Things that died, you can put X+1/+1 on creatures, and then Renewed Solidarity is like, as this enchantment enters, choose a creature type, which is obviously going to be zombies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+0 at the beginning of your end step for each token you control of the chosen type that enter this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it. You're already seeing what I mean here? Like, 2 of the 3 new cards are about tokens, right? And there's only one of the commanders that is actually about tokens, right? The other is like zombies. It happens that those zombies are going to be tokens too, but still, Wizard Mentor, whenever your opponent activates an ability, or for permanent that isn't a mana ability, you create a 1/1 white zombie creature token. This is triggers only once each turn. So a lot of zombie engines, when this creature enters, draw cards equal to the number of zombies you control or the number of zombie cards in your graveyard, whichever is greater, which kind of works only halfway if you're going for token zombies, right? Because if you have them on the battlefield, this is great, but if they die, you have nothing. So this is why, Rectum Mystic is a very interesting card, because for only 1 and 1 blue, each creature card in your hand has cycling, which means that you can just force discard them, which is pretty good, right? So this is kind of what I'm going about, and this, is only the 10 new cards, because that's kind of where we're going right now. Afflict 3. So ironically, they are using mechanics like Afflict here, but not the new ones. Other zombies you control have Afflict 3 at the beginning of your second main phase. If a player was dealt combat damage by a zombie, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, which not bad, kind of doesn't 100% work with the rest. Accursed Barnyard, regenerate target shade, skeleton, specter, spirit, vampire, wraith, or zombie. So commence the end game for 4 and 2 blue. This spell can be countered and draw 2 cards, then amass zombies X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So to do like a zombie army thing. Crit Breaker, for 1 and 1 black, tap, discard a card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, tap 3 untapped zombies you control, you draw a card and you lose 1 life, right? And the game keeps going. I find it funny that Gravecrawler is here. I think that Gravecrawler is like a mandatory card in every commander, in every zombie deck. And Grave Titan, you can say whatever you want, but this is Nito from Dark Souls. So you get a bunch of tokens, but the impression I got from the deck is, okay, the deck's pretty cool because of the commander being too cool. The other commander also works pretty good. Actually, I would say the second commander works better with this deck, in my opinion. Like, it feels more like it's doing things with the deck, whilst, the main commander is like, well, yeah, you have value, but it doesn't feel like the deck is optimized for that. And that takes me to the point that we always discuss whenever we go over the commander decks from Wizards, right? Like, these are precons, these are like, apparently according to the new bracket system, these are like the lower tier in the food chain. And it is what it is, right? But I feel like historically the commander decks, because Gavin in his post said something like, oh well, most of the commander decks fit there, most of them, not all of them, because a lot of people were like, all decks are that level. I don't think so, because a lot of some precons are exceptionally good, right? And those precons that are exceptionally good in the Death Majesty here is a surprise, I guess. It's like, well, someone has to create the zombie creature tokens and keep filling that graveyard. This is certainly a card. Certainly a card. I feel like I feel like what we're doing here is weird. Like there are some very cool cards here that I think are like more or less auto inserts in every zombie deck, like the Scarab God or Liliana, right? Some other cards that not so much. And overall, they try to do some mana fixing. It's okay, they have like this sort of shock land. It's not really a shock land, almost. And this, like, if you control an item of a swamp, it kind of fixes itself, which is pretty good. They are increasing the mana fixing on the precons, which is at the same time is kind of dangerous, because I feel like precons, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am all in for getting good lands into precons, and I feel like this is playing harder into the whole, like, it deals 1 damage to you, just because it's like, oh, it's zombies, you get used to. Like, you're playing black, get used to using life as a resource. But it's like, okay, it's true, commander decks are like intro products, or like things to stimulate your brain, right? And you look at it and go like, okay, and start building on top of it, right? And you have the obvious 10 insert cards, right? Like Path of Ancestry, Command Tower, Soul Ring, etc. And then you have some other cards that, they play with the stock market, so that they don't give you cards that are too good. And they keep that. I do feel like this deck is trying to do everything that has to do with zombies, but doesn't have like a clear strategy. And that's kind of what hurts this deck considerably, because again, yes, this is like, if you buy this, it's like, well, you have 3 different ways to go about this deck, right? You can go discard, you can go draw, you can go like zombies with a name, you can go zombies without a name, which are tokens, or you can just go revive, right? And to me, that's where the weird thing happens. I love that they just stuck to the lands from the set that are from Amonkhet, which is adorable, and I like it. But someone has put some thought into this. Basically, long story short about this deck, right? I think that what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? The thing that this deck is going for is a tale of 2 cities, right? Is the 2 commanders kind of do the same, but not really, right? So this is objectively a better commander for every zombie deck. This is a very specific card that is not necessarily your every fit commander, and you actually have to play smart to actually, make this work. But if you make it work, it works. And ironically, half of the deck seems to be more catered to this guy than to this guy, which is interesting. Because I think this guy is just so generically good that the deck couldn't be better, because otherwise it wouldn't be a precon, you know what I mean? Like, you play this deck and it just feels like it's kind of working, and sometimes it's just doing other things that you don't want. Like for example, you're playing with the main commander, you're doing your stuff, right? And you want to just attack, so you can draw cards, discard cards, and then keep boosting your zombies, right? Because the main premise of the deck, technically, on paper, is hit, or try to hit, because it says attack, it doesn't say combat damage or anything, it says attack. So the moment you attack, you keep attacking, and things trigger, right? And you draw cards, you draw a card, discard a card, and whenever you draw a card, but ironically, this is whenever you attack, and you attack once, right? So unless you have things that trigger multiple attacks, which you don't have that many tools here for this, or because otherwise you're just gonna be +1/+1. The thing is that when you grab your card at the beginning of the turn, they already are +1/+1. So they're already +1/+1. You draw a card when you attack, so that's +2/+2 each turn, right? So it feels like you need more blue fixing to draw more cards to make you Hulk smash, which is kind of what the deck wants. But at the same time, that's a great engine for filling that graveyard, but the deck doesn't necessarily play super duper mega with the graveyard, right? So it's trying to do 3 things, which is, for this guy, it's trying to give you card draw, which doesn't do like super mega duper, and it's trying to give you attack pieces and hit the board with them, right? Like just try to attack. Just try to attack so that things get bulkier and you can just do damage. But the other commander is all about tokens. So yes, the tokens can work with Temet for 100%. But the other commander is like, listen, just you can create tokens, you create copy of the creatures that you're gonna discard, and they become zombie tokens. There are copies of creatures, and since there are tokens and zombies, they will trade with other cards. The problem is that those other cards say zombie or token, and some of them just say token, and those don't trigger at all with the main commander. So again, as it feels like it is the case with most decks from Wizards of the Coast, the good decks, the decks that don't fit the commander pre-con bracket, are the ones that stick to a plan. Most pre-cons have 2 or 3 plans, like 2 or 3, oh, you can do this, or you can do that, or you can do this. And it's like, it just feels like, and I think they do that on purpose to kind of make it silly, you know, like, oh, look at this deck, beep, 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 right? Like, if they try to do, whenever they do a deck that is like sticks to a thing and only a thing, it becomes suddenly a very sought after pre-con and people really love it. And most of the times when that happens is because they were restricted because of lore or something, or they were, which, like, for example, Warhammer, the Necron deck, for example, or they are like restricted by a color. So ironically, a lot of times, like, the monocolor decks are the ones that end up being kind of broken, or they just print out a commander that is very crazy and it kind of works regardless, right? But like most of the times when the deck itself is very good, is because it's doing only one thing or maybe 1.5 things, and it's doing it very well instead of trying to go for 3. Now, don't misunderstand, that deck is pretty good. I think, in fact, as we will see in a second, that deck, in my opinion, is the better of the two for most people. And why I say most people? Because energy, my friends, energy. There is someone in Wizards, which I don't know if it's Gavin or something, but it doesn't feel like well, actually, it kind of feels like a Gavin mechanic that he will like a lot. Energy, I don't know. But you see, this one, just getting this here because I realized I didn't get the back of the box that much, so that you can, we get less and less things, only 10 new cards, etc. Now, my expectation is that designing new cards for 4 commander decks every month and a half, that's crazy, right? So, but since, you know, we're going for 2 most of the time, give me more new cards so that your products are more valuable, you know what I mean? But I digress. This is the energy deck. Now, the energy deck, it's all about energy and Kaladesh, apparently. So someone at Wizards really loves energy, but like really loves energy. And this sparked but re-energized. Okay, good phrase. No, whoever you are, person that writes this, I love you. You do a great job. Like, and I really mean it. This is not your best, but it's not your best in the sense that it's not like a great joke, but it's a great thing in the context of the Magic lore. And since we are not caring about Magic lore right now, I still commend you for this. So kudos once again to the person that writes this in the side of the box. Now someone is gonna comment something like, well, it's not a person, it's that entire team. I don't know, the team or the people or the person, whatever. Whoever you guys are, I love you, and the phrase that you put in the box is one of the best parts of like unboxing a pre-con. So, and just the pre-cons overall, right? Because you can just buy the singles of the things that you want. So the deck box, if we can call it that, with Sahili right there, and you know, and now the Living Energy pamphlet. We love our pamphlets or inserts. Now, same stuff about what is Commander. Now that they are like this, I feel like this is more frameable because it's not split into so many parts. Like the other was like a lot smaller, so this is better. But you know, since we're gonna do this, can I ask you something, Wizards? Like, just roll this, like, just roll this like this. I don't know how more expensive it will be in the factory to do this, but like, roll it up, put it like this, so we can use it as posters. And not only this, just everything, so that we can, you know, you're giving us more value, but it doesn't cost you shit. Well, maybe it costs more to like roll things, I guess, but instead of, although it doesn't feel right, I feel like it's more difficult to like do this properly than it is to just roll it, but whatever. it can fit here perfectly, you know, or just fit it like this, do the box horizontal. I don't know. It just feels like more value. This is just me asking, but you know, you took the life wheel from me, so it is what it is. +1/+1, which is disappointing because the other deck having +1/+1s, it's expected given the, you know, the deck. But this one having +1/+1s only, it's like, bro. So Saheeli, Radiant Creator. So the whole Radiant thing is because Saheeli now has green. And that's kind of the thing. So you have an excerpt of story here, which I'm not going to read because these videos are long enough. But if you want, let me know. Wherever you find constructs, both intricate and elegant, Saheeli Rai isn't, or Rai, I guess it should be pronounced Rai, isn't that far away, or isn't far away. A consummate artist and inventor, she believes that innovation should be unbounded, and it's constantly challenging. This is why I don't read it. Challenging herself. So let's see. The deck itself. It's all about energy, folks. That's how it is. So if you already clicked off the video, I don't blame you. No, energy gets some bad rep, you know, and it's funny that I shit on energy as a person that, you know, whose favorite PreCon is the timey-wimey PreCon from Doctor Who. It's basically, by the way, we forgot to open this. Let's just crack this very fast, very quick, very fast. Because the timey-wimey deck is just, you know, energy with extra steps to a degree. It's just like, oh, everything has time counters on it, and you have to track the time counters, and you have to play with time counters. Otherwise, the deck is not that good. And, you know, even my upgraded versions of timey-wimey, everything has time counters on it. That's kind of the joke, right? So, for a person that loves that deck, sure, I am a hypocrite just shitting on energy, but coarse cloth wrappings for 2 and 2 black, zombies you control get +1/+1. And you tap it, their creature card in your graveyard gains Embalm until the end of turn. The Embalm cost is equal to its mana cost. And the other is a foil. Funny, because the others were not foil, these two are foil. Or I am blind, and the others were foil and I didn't catch it. But Apocalypse Runner for 2, 1 black, 1 red is, you know, artifact vehicle. 6/5. Don't let the end of days stand in your way. So not bad. Let me just double check if these things are foil. No, these things are not foil. This is foil. This is not foil. But to be honest, some printings nowadays, the foil is so discreet that I can't tell. And it's really funny because nowadays we have those crazy foils like the Stargaze foil or whatever it's called, Starburst or whatever, that is just blinding. And sometimes the normal foil is like, I guess it's foil. So energy reserve, you don't need more than one because you put a D20 on top of it. A Thopter, another Thopter, same thing, just different arts for the sake of fun, which I love. The Nallard Aetherjet, which is great, and you will see why in a second. We have 3 of them, and it says Flying Crew 2, so a servo that is being used for confetti, 2 of them, and 2 constructs, right? So then you have Beast, a Beast, but it's an artifact beast. So artifact beast, a normal beast, treasures, a golem, a flying artifact creature golem, just a trample golem, and a vigilance golem. So not bad. And you know, energy reserve is the same on both sides, which feels kind of, I guess, because you're gonna use this card, so whatever, right? So that, let's put that here. And now let's talk about the commanders. Now energy gets a lot of shit, mostly because it's a secondary mana source, right? Energy source, haha. And people don't like that because we already have the pain in the ass which is, you know, the mana economy, your lands and all that. And that's great. That's the beauty about Magic and, you know, all the games that use the same you know, energy system, energy type system thing, like mana, energy and Pokemon, etc. So that's okay. The problem is that you have that and then you have these, and most energy decks, I feel like the idea is good, but it's dancing back and forth in this space where it's like, hey guys, we have this cool idea that is energy. And energy could be a replacement for mana, but sadly we can't make cards that use energy too cheap or even free to cast, because that will be broken as hell. So you kind of need to deal with the two, right? And I feel like they try to compensate you, like, oh, you hold for a while and that's why you're going to punch harder, but not really. Now, the reason why I'm saying energy, guys, is because energy was kind of forgotten. And then in the last year and a half, just a year, we had the Fallout PreCon called Science, which was energy basically. We had the Modern Horizons deck for energy. I believe we had some other cards that played with energy afterwards, which I can't remember for the life of me. And now we have this other deck for energy. So technically, if you pick some of the best cards from each, you can do a very great commander deck with all the cards. Which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's just me becoming cynical about Wizards because of all the shit that they pulled recently, but it really does feel like they are doing all these energy decks as a way. It's like, you know, selling the actual deck in parts, you know, like, oh, you wanna, which is not the case really, because not even the colors are the same, right? Like Science is white, blue, red, and I don't even remember the colors of the Modern Horizon one, but a lot of the cards are compatible with each other, right? So maybe it's just me being too cynical about Wizards, but it really feels like they are selling the full energy deck in parts. Like, oh, if you buy the 3, you get the actual full thing to actually build the actual full deck that we will do otherwise. But maybe it's just me. I think it's just me. But hey, who can't blame me, right? Like, Wizards is nowadays love and hate, baby. So Saheeli, Radiant Creator. So Saheeli now has green, and that's why she's covered in flowers. And she's a human artificer, is a 4/4, and whenever you cast an artificer or artifact spell, you get energy. So she costs one generic green, blue, and red, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except is a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types, and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So not super duper, right? And the secondary commander is actually Piana Lar. So Piana Lar, Chief Mechanic, is a little bit cheaper. For 1 green, 1 blue, 1 red, is a 2/4 human artificer, and says whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 more energy. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalaar Aetherdrift with flying and crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way. Now, I want to shit too much on this deck because I played with it and it was fun, right? Like, it was fun. It was okay. Like, I didn't dislike it. And to be fair, because we need to be fair, yeah, it wasn't like the best time of my life, but I really, and I mean this with all my heart, I really appreciate more that they did 2 different decks with 2 different completely things, and they tried them both, right? Maybe you don't like energy, but it's the same thing as me not liking zombies, right? Because me saying I don't like zombies and playing with the graveyard, most people do. So when you heard me saying that, you will be like, "Well, this guy is nuts. I don't understand him." And it's like, well, you know, everyone likes a different color, I guess. But the thing is, they 2 different tries, right? So that's good. So the try energy is here. The zombie one to me is kind of lazier than this one to a degree, right? Because it's just like, oh, +1/+1s and zombies, which is like, you know, I normally love when they try to do like new mechanics or new twists on things. So energy is not new, but at least it's like, well, it's 3 colors and energy with artifacts, which ironically is this deck's downfall. But at least they tried, and that's great. Which is better than when they do like, you know, oh, it's a vampire tribal deck, and it's like, sure, other vampires you control get +1/+1. And it's like, thank you, this is so exciting, right? So if you wanna introduce something new, might as well make it something new that has a bite to it, right? Haha, vampires, bites. Like, you know, like something that is interesting and new. Otherwise, just keep reprinting the old decks, like the foundation set, right? It's like just, that's why I'm surprised that the foundation set doesn't have like commander decks that are just always there, like the de facto commander decks for different plays, but I digress. So you already see that these two ladies here are trying to do but not really, right? Like they are trying to do the same, but not really at all. Like if you play with Saheeli, which is the main is way the way it's meant to be played, basically it's whenever you cast an artificer or artifact, right? And that includes creatures like her or Pia, which are basically artificers. And artifacts, the deck is full of artifacts, so that's good. Even the artifacts that Pia interact with Pia can trigger Saheeli. So it's like cool, right? So that's not bad. The problem is that you get energy for that, and then if this is your main way to get energy, you're screwed, my friend, because then if you pay 3, you can create a token that's a copy of a permanent, not creature, and that's the good side about this. But it's also a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to everything else, and it has haste, and you need to sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So it's not super cheap, and you will see why in a second. Pia feels a lot more aggressive with what it's trying to do. Here is like just creating, which I guess it fits with Saheeli, really. It's just creating, and getting energy so that you can create more things which you may attack with it. It's a 5/5 with haste. I mean, and it's gonna die at the end of the next phase or next step, so you might as well just use it. But it can be anything. So if you copy an artifact or something else that you have that generates value for you, there you have some money. But Pia is about hitting, right? It's like whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage, you get 2 energy, which ironically is a lot better, but you need to attack, right? So once again, they are doing commanders that kind of feel like they should be played together, which is, I guess it makes sense, but it's not super duper. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 more, and if you do, you create an XX color vehicle, and this is good, but the problem is that it creates a vehicle, and vehicles need to be crewed, and that's where a problem starts. So you have Territorial Leader Kite. When this creature enters, you get 2 energy, which is okay, but it's a 4, costs 4 and 2 red. Oh, yes, it has fly and haste, and it's a 6/5, but you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. When you do, this creature deals that much damage to each other creature, but it's only when it enters. So if you have more energy when it enters, you can do stuff, right? So, and I feel like this is the problem with this deck overall. It's like the deck said, oh, we're an energy deck. And you may be thinking, well, you were complaining about this just now, saying that decks don't stick to a plan, and that's a problem. And to that, I will say, my friend, yes. At the same time, no. By the way, just one detail, they finally went with it and stopped doing whatever the hell they were trying to do before, and they just acknowledged that Nissa and Chandra are a thing, 100%. Like, it's not like, oh, they're holding hands at the end of March of the Machine, the Aftermath, because they are friends. Like, Zendikar still seems so far off, but Chandra is my home. It's like, okay, people, it doesn't get more obvious than this. Stop denying. Whenever land you control enters, you get 2 energy, which is pretty good, and it feels like Nissa should be the commander. You may pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost for a permanent spells you cast, which is pretty good if she wasn't green. So, if you try to build something around Nissa, because in this deck, she's okay, I guess. If you try to build something around Nissa, which is a kind of an interesting design, 8 is kind of expensive, but, whenever the land enters, you get more energy. So if you do your whole energy play around this, you will get a lot of energy. And paying 8 energy rather than mana for some very expensive big green things is pretty good. Sadly, that's not going to happen in this deck. So you know what I mean? This is one of those examples. The Pima Trailblazer pays 6 energy, right? So whenever a creature does combat damage to a player, you get that many energy. So that's great, but it's a 3/3. Has trample, yes, but it's nothing to write home about. It feels like they added a bunch of green things for the sake of having size to hit. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you get an amount of energy equal to, I love that they put the energy symbol, but yet they still need to write energy counters, but they can't put enters the battlefield. So like, what is the word economy, guys? Then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. Which is okay, but then, again, green just feels like, why are we here? Why are we still here just to suffer? Like, green is not doing anything for this deck. It's like, whenever you do like an Artificer or an Artifact, or whenever an Artifact creature you control deals combat damage, well, are you seeing a trend with green, guys? Druid, Warrior, Hydra, they generate some energy, but they don't count for anything else on the deck. And then, yes, you have some colorless stuff, which is good, right? Like either Fox Conduit, whenever you cast a spell, you get that amount of energy equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. It's freaking great. But it costs you 6, so this thing is not going to. And then, tap, pay 50 energy, which may not be that difficult if you actually like build a deck that's actually made to get you energy fast. Draw 7 cards. You may cast a number of spells from your hand without paying the mana cost, right? So this card is very interesting. It's not for quick use, it's easy to remove, and you need to tap it and pay 50 energy, but which you're not gonna get there with this deck. But if you are doing a different deck, then this is great. Once again, it's full of cards that seem like all of these cards are to make another great energy deck that is out there waiting if you bought all the numbers of the collection. Etheric Amplifier, add 1 mana of any color, not bad. You know, the usual 3 for a multicolor rock, but 4 tap and choose 1, activate only as a sorcery, double the number of each kind of counter on target permanent, double the number of each kind of counter you have. So this is the way of fixing your energy. And there is a card here that we will see in a second that feels like the reason why green is here at all. So you have some more construct, chain reaction, so it deals X damage to each creature, with X is the number of creatures on the battlefield, so right? See where I'm going with this? It's like these two care about energy, for sure. And then one is all about artifacts and artificers. The other is about attacking with artifacts, right? But and you need energy for all that. This lady only gives you 1 every time you cast an artifact or artificer, and this only every time you attack. So you could get a lot of energy with Pia if you are using you're going with the green cards and all that. But again, half of the deck is not there. It's not artifacts or doesn't trigger anything else. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy, which is great. Pay 8 energy, return all other creatures to their owner's hands, activate only as a sorcery, which is okay. Like for 7, yes, it's a 6/6 with flying, but like they just grab cards that say energy, right? You know what I mean? Like this is what it feels like. And they only added 10 new designs. So in the last 3 energy decks, they added 30 cards to the pool of energy cards. There are not that many energy cards in Magic. So it's not like you are going to have like those any sort of crazy combination. And it shows when they add cards like this. When this creature enters, you get 6 energy counters. Like, well, that's freaking great for 4 and 2 blue. And then if you pay 4, return this creature to its owner's hand so that you can put it again and gain 6. So you have a positive benefit of 2, I guess. But it's a whale, so it doesn't trigger Pia. It's a Healy. So like, you know what I mean? Like this kind of it's not bad. It's not a bad deck. It just feels like it's missing something, and it's missing. At least the Panharmonicon is here, which is great because if an artifact or creature entering causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that will trigger an additional time. And this is cool, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if this is like you get energy twice, right? I think this is where we're going. Right? Enters, triggers, you get double the energy because a lot of the ways to get energy here is just like when this creature enters, and it's like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like I guess creatures are gonna enter, and that's how I make my money. And then I need to be very, very careful with that money if I am playing With Saheeli, because it's not like this. By the way, I love the fact that the 2 Soul Rings are different. I didn't mention it in the first one, but the Soul Rings are different. The other cards, not so much. Command Tower is, but the other one that is always everywhere is not. So, since we have green here, obviously that's like too much money for a PreCon, but it does feel like they added the other Saheeli, which is, it's like, like when I saw the card, I was like, well, I guess it makes sense because artifacts. But when I saw the card, I was like, are you sure about this? Because, I know it's Saheeli, right? It makes sense that it's here. But at the same time, it's like, well, this spark. Well, actually, no. Remember when I had a spark? Crazy. Commander Sphere is the same for everyone. So, it feels like, this will benefit greatly from that doubling system, right? And you will be like, oh, duh, thank you. Go buy that single. It's like, well, I wish. But because the green cards here are not doing that much for me. They are not going anywhere. And that's weird. It's like they went with Saheeli. Like, I appreciate they going like, well, you know what? Saheeli is going to be green now. And because of that, and Pia too, I guess. And because of that, we're going to put green cards here. And it's like, yes, but we don't have that many green cards that give energy, which is weird if you think about it, because life. But, it's like, and Bootlegger Stash is like, great card, but not so much. Costs you 6. Lands you control, create the treasure tokens, which is only good because it's artifacts. And whenever you create artifacts, well, things trigger, but again, see what I mean with this deck is, I was very happy to see the Panharmonicon there, but at the same time, the Panharmonicon, which I think is how it's pronounced, Panharmonicon? Panharmonicon? I don't know. The Panharmonicon being here is kind of the reason why this deck is in my opinion, because it's like, okay, so what is my main way of creating energy? Summoning big dudes, because yes, you have artifacts there, but the entire deck is not all artifacts, and you would maybe like, well, come on, if she has 3 colors, you're not going colorless with everything, right? That's kind of pointless. Same with Pia, and it's like, no, yeah, you can use the 3 colors for your fixings and to get some creatures in there or some enchantments like Doubling Season that can help you with stuff. That's for sure. But it really feels like the deck is like, energy guys, right? And then it's like, well, actually, the main way of getting energy most of the time is just summoning things, and we have other cards here so that when you summon that, it will give you more energy, but it's really by summoning, right? So it doesn't feel that crazy. Now, if you are an energy enjoyer, that's okay, that's great, and everyone has their tastes. So I didn't hate this deck, by the way. This is not the worst PreCon they ever released by any means. This is okay, this is solid, but you need to get into the whole energy thing. And green being in the deck just makes it more confusing, because you will be playing green and thinking, why I just don't do it with mana? Like, why can't I just have my mana fixing and just, go boom? Like, it feels very in my opinion. But it's not that bad. It's not even in the top 20 worst PreCons they release, right? Or top 30 even. So the deck is good, but you need to get into that energy mindset. And apparently, energy players need to get into the mindset of the deck is going to work, but you need to add stuff to it. That's kind of how it goes. And if you are into that mindset, then yes, that deck is for you. Now, generically speaking, and normally I do this with the four decks, not with the commanders themselves, but generically speaking, if I had to order these decks in terms of, best to worst, most fun, etc., the order is almost, we only have 2, right? So it's not much of a discussion for a lot of things, but the order most of the time is going to be these. And for me, this is difficult to say even, because I don't like graveyards that much, and I like weird things like energy. However, I need to think more like for the everyman, for like, most people will like. And yeah, no doubt, this is a more straightforward, more fun deck, less confusing. If you're thinking about any of these as your first commander deck, this is the order. First, second. If you're thinking about any of these as well, if I need to fight with my other friends that have precons or decks more or less in that area, this is the order too. If you are thinking like, well, if I need to expand, this is the order too, because, well, there is a metric ton of zombie cards in the world. Not that many with energy, so still, you got more options here. And this commander is, some people are saying, is one of the best zombie commanders ever. And I am not that much of a connoisseur for zombies, but yeah, I can see the reason why. It's like Vigilance Menace, whenever you attack, which is a good trigger, it's not when this creature attacks, whenever you attack, draw a card, discard, and whenever you draw a card, +1/+1 for all zombies, and you go boom, right? So if you build around that, that's cool. But if you look at the secondary commanders, same logic, right? So even if I had to rank the commanders will be something like these, in my opinion. Like best, second best, and if you really push me, if you really, really push me, even though I don't like graveyards and all that, if you really, really push me, in my heart, I feel it should be like this. I like the way this guy plays a lot more, because it's kind of weird and it's kind of flexible and it's kind of, backhanded. It's like, oh, we're doing this and I'm doing copies and boom, and I'm putting cards into the graveyard and chung 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 chung, right? So it's interesting. It's a very interesting card. I feel it's more interesting than this. I think this is just like generically good. This is like if you ask someone that plays Magic and is fairly good at Magic to design a commander, but not be too overpowered, because normally people when design cards, they do them way overpowered. The same happened with the champions of the Pro Tours when they get to design cards or whatever. And then the card had their faces. So Wizards had to like tone down a little the card, and still they were overpowered. So like, I feel like this is the card that most people will design in their heads. Like, well, okay, so it has Vigilance and Menace, right? Because it's an attack card. And whenever you attack, you draw this card because it's a zombie deck. And whenever you draw, you get +1/+1 and you zombies until the end of turn. And you go boom, 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 right? So it feels more like generic. This feels like more confusingly good, right? Like you need to get there with a specific strategy, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's do it like this. And the deck works. Not this deck. Okay, this deck kind of works with both. It's not optimal, but if you want to build around them, talking strictly about commanders, this is my preference. Talking about people, I think the order is something like this. Like this is, for a lot of people, this is the best commander of the four. I can see why. And this is very good. And these two, well, you need to play with energy and a lot of people don't like or whatever. But even within these two, I feel this is a more interesting commander than this one for what you want to do here, which is attack, and that's why you have red and green and all that, but still you are restricted to this artifact thing with colors that don't scream that, with cards that don't scream that. Like, ironically, if Nissa had, well, not three, but two colors or something, or even if Nissa was green, but had like blue and red somewhere in here, because, well, blue, I don't have any freaking way of justifying it, but if it had like some red mana requirement here because of something to do with Chandra, I will be like, cool, great commander. But because, I think that she's a better commander than those two. Ironically, you can use her as commander in this deck because it's only a color, so it doesn't work. But this feels like a more interesting commander to build around in energy than the other two. And it kind of, because it's the green reason this thing is the green reason this thing is here. I don't know. So this will be my go-to order for commanders here too, and it pains me. Now, it pains me because it's not that this is bad, but it's just, I don't know, it's all over the place. These feel like they have an objective. This not so much. This is like, well, energy and artifacts too. It's like, you did energy and artifacts because they are from Kaladesh? Like, was that the reason? Like, just why not sticking to one or the other? Why the two? It makes it so restrictive in a subset of cards that is not that abundant. And you can be like, well, you can have great artifacts and then have the energy cards and be like 50-50, and ones will trigger the others. And that is like, yeah, but again, when this creature, half of this deck is when this enters, you get energy. So the deck is not bad. It just feels like it's not there. It's not going, you know what I mean? So, but if you ask me, it's also a weird color combination. I appreciate what they're trying to do with green and energy, but the last two decks were white blue and red, and suddenly we have green in here. So I guess you can use half of the other two decks to build something better here, or just like go full artifact crazy and it's just like artifacts and energy is a thing that is also there. I don't know. It feels kind of 50-50, but that's kind of my summary. And in terms of like how to pick the decks and overall feeling playing with them, this is the order. And that's the video. So this is shorter than usual because it's only two decks, but let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let me know what you think about these decks, and if you share the opinions. Like, it's weird that they dig. Yes, it's weird that they did a two decks for Aetherdrift, but actually none of the mechanics are here, and it's just like, well, we have two planes that you like, and we're not going back to those planes because those are not gonna sell. So we're gonna do one deck for Kaladesh and one deck for Amonkhet. Amonkhet is zombies, right? So you like zombies? Let's put zombies. And Kaladesh is energy, an artifact. So let's do both, and let's do green because sure, and because we have a we have a Nisa card and we don't know where to put it. I don't know. It's weird, but I will try, and this is like a personal commitment here. I will try to build a super crazy zombie deck with this, which is fairly easy, just for the sake of like me growing up and losing my bias against zombie decks. But I will try to build the de facto energy deck with some of what we have here, and trying to use this one of these two as the commander to see if I can do it. But overall, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the new packaging, the new inclusions, the new omissions, the set itself, the decks, and I will see you next time on this channel, the one that you already liked and subscribed, and all those things that I need to say because the algorithm is certainly a thing. And I will see you next time. Pax and recreation. Bye.